For now, we are talking about area. Just got done with perimeter in 0.7, so now we're on to 0.8 for Algebra 1. When we're talking area, and specific to this IXL, we need to think about what area is. Essentially, what we're dealing with here is the idea that it's how much of a square unit needed to cover a surface. So when we say like cover a surface, let's see if this works. Well, that covered a surface, but it left the other side blank. But basically, if we wanted to fill in one of these shapes, how many units would it take to fill in any of these? And you notice I have these already written out here. I believe these are the different ones that we'll use for this specific IXL. So when dealing with area, to solve the problems, you just need to know the formulas and where to get these variable values from. So the B is base for this, and H is height. So if we're dealing with a square or a rectangle, it's going to be base times height to get you your value of squared whatever units. The reason that this works for a rectangle and a square is because with a square, the base and the height are the same number. So sometimes you might see like base squared or height squared or something like that. It would be the same thing. With a triangle, it's the same thing, except you also have that 1/2 portion. The reason you have that is if you go back to like the square, basically a square is 2 triangles, and to show that, what you can do is kind of cut that in half, and you can see it's 2 triangles, so that's why that's there. You could also do the same thing here from corner to corner. Okay. And if you weren't sure with this one, you could break it up into like triangle, triangle, and a rectangle and add them all up at the end. But basically what we're dealing with here is a rectangle, except the bases are different lengths. That's why there's a B1 and a B2, and because it's addition, it doesn't matter which one is 1 and which one's 2. And then because we're adding 2 bases together, we also divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2. It's the same thing. And that basically takes the average of the bases. So it's basically like what would happen if we took like here. Oops, that's not straight up and down. It's basically like if we made a rectangle using, I don't know, eyeballing it, but roughly that length. So it shortens one, lengthens the other. That's basically what's going on. Okay, so let's get to the questions now. What is the area? So for this one, we see we have, looks like a rectangle. Yes, because these are different. 4 and 3, we know we're multiplying together. Even if you flip-flop the 2, it's multiplication. All of this is multiplication and addition, so the order doesn't matter. 4 times 3, we're going to get 12, and they give it to you at squared yards. Okay, let's keep moving here. What is the area? We have a triangle now. So we know we're going to have to do 1/2 times. The base is a little bit more obvious with a triangle. The bottom is 6, and then the height is from base to the very top is 4. Now if you flip-flop the 6 and the 4, it really should get you the same number, so nothing too bad there. I think you could do this one in your head, but because there's a fraction there, if you wanted to plug it in on the calculator like I just did, you would get, hey, 12 here as well, because 4 times 6 is 24, and then we multiply that by 1/2 to get 12. Because it's feet, that's why we have square feet here. It's basically like if how many little squares would we have to add in here to fill up the entire thing? Obviously they'd be bigger with feet. Okay, let's keep going. We have another triangle, so 1/2 times base times height. Well, 5 times 4, we can do this part first, is 20 times 1/2 would be 10. See if we need to jump up a level. Okay, this is another four-sided shape, even though it doesn't look like our pictures. because this base and this are the same, you would use this formula, just so you guys know that top one. All right, let's jump a level. We can do this one real quick, even though it's similar, because it has a decimal to it. 2 times 1.7, I'm going to use my calculator for this one, 3.4. It gives you the units. If it didn't, you would want to be very careful with that. Let's jump another level, see if there's anything left to us that we haven't talked about yet. Fractions, that would work the same way as decimals. Here's one with no picture. Rectangle is 39 and height is 38. Okay, same idea. They're going to throw any trapezoids at us or anything like that? Oh, okay, here's one that's a little different. We'll do this as the last one. Unless we can find a trapezoid problem quickly. Missing length. So we see a rectangle and I would know base times height is the area, but this time instead they give us the area and we're missing one of those. So what we would kind of have to set up is base times height. This is 17.9 times, and then we don't know what y is. We don't know what the height is. Oops, I don't want to save that. Equals, and then we do know the area is 161.1. And there we go. Some equation solving real quick. To find y, we would make sure we know what each side of our equation is. And then we would divide both sides by the 17.9. The reason it's 17.9 is because we want this number to cancel out and leave just the y. 17.9. It would be the same thing over here because it's an equation. So both sides are equal. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So that's why I have that line down the middle, so I don't confuse my sides or anything like that. Okay, those cancel, and I'm just going to have y equals, I'm going to type this one in, 161.1 divided by 17.9 is 9. Awesome, that it works out to a whole number like that. Sweet. Okay, so this would be very similar. I'll set it up real quick for you. C times C is the same thing as 2C, because we have two of them, equals, oops, I keep doing that. A little rusty at this, getting back into it. 388.09. And then I would divide both sides by 2, and that would give us an answer. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Anything off here? Okay, so maybe they don't throw the trapezoid at you, but if so, this is what you would use. Doesn't matter which, the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter what one's 1 or 2. You would add them together first because they're inside parentheses. Remember order of operations. And then you would multiply 1/2 that number and the height all together. All right, we'll wrap up here. Hopefully that one helped. Until then, we're coming back with volume next. All right, see you.